Keith Haring, the boy who just kept drawing. By K.A. Haring. Illustrated by Robert Newbraker. There was a boy named Keith. He was little. When he was little, his father taught him how to draw dogs and fish and funny things. His dad would draw a line, then Keith would draw one. Soon, the whole page would be filled up. From that time on, Keith never stopped drawing. In elementary school, while taking tests, Keith doodled on the edge of his papers. When he handed in his work, his teacher would ask, "Why did you doodle on this important paper?" Keith didn't answer. He went back to his desk and just kept drawing. Excuse me. Sometimes Keith invited his friends to draw in his backyard clubhouse. Keith made symbols and said each one represented a letter of the alphabet. His friends asked, "Why do you use symbols to write?" Keith drew more symbols. It was his way of answering their question. He encouraged his friends to join him. As a teenager, Keith liked to draw in his bedroom with the music playing loud. He would draw on every piece of paper he could find. His mother had to yell over the music, "Why can't you turn down that music and go outside and ride your bike?" But Keith had sold his bike to buy art supplies, so he answered, "Look at that, the cool drawings I did." And he just kept drawing. When Keith was in high school, he won his first prize for his art. A successful couple from a town offered to buy his drawing. Keith said, "No, thank you. If you enjoy my art, you may hang it on your wall. No charge." Keith's sisters were shocked. Why didn't he take any money, they asked. Keith shrugged. He just wanted to keep drawing. Keith graduated from high school and went into the big city of Pittsburgh to a school that would teach him about art. There were boys on the street trying something new, breakdancing. He liked the crazy shapes of their bodies as they turned and flipped on the ground. While the music played loud, Keith started drawing wiggly lines. His teacher asked him, "Why are you drawing pictures that look like scrambled bodies? This is not what we told you to draw." Keith knew how to draw. He just wanted to draw in different ways. And he kept drawing. Keith moved to the huge city of New York when he was 20, so he could draw with other artists. He started to draw all over the city, on walls, on sidewalks, and on paper that hung on lampposts. His drawings were washed away by the rain or torn down by street cleaners. Other artists asked Keith, "Why do you draw in places where your pictures are erased?" Keith didn't answer them. He was in search for another wall so he could keep drawing. Keith got a job delivering packages and sometimes rode the subway. One day he saw a panel of black paper on the wall in a station. He rushed outside to buy chalk and came back and began to draw. The white chalk made bright, smooth lines on the black paper. Day after day, Keith filled the empty panels on the subway station with art. Soon, people who rode the subway were always looking for the white chalk drawings. No one knew the name of the artist, but his drawings were easy to recognize. People asked him, "Why are you drawing here? And what do your pictures mean?" Keith said, "What do you see? You decide what they mean." Where Keith lived, there was a trash on the street and people didn't always say hello to each other. One day, he and his friends cleaned up 23 bags of garbage in the front of a long wall. Then Keith painted square faces with smiles and body shapes dancing upside down. The neighbors liked the drawings and stopped to say, "Thank you." A policeman came by and lectured Keith. "Why did you do this? I have to give you a ticket because you didn't get permission." Keith paid the fine and kept drawing. Soon people wanted to see more of Keith's drawings, and he was asked to display his work in an art gallery. Art was hung from the floor to the ceiling, and in between his paintings on the wall. Hold on a second. And in between he painted on the walls, Keith invited everyone to come enjoy his work. All of Keith's artwork sold. The gallery owner said, "What are you doing with all of this money?" He said, "I read in the newspaper that there are kids who don't have enough to eat. I didn't have this money yesterday, and I was happy. And if I don't have it tomorrow, I will still be happy. All children need to eat. I'll send the money to them." The gallery owner gasped, "Why?" Keith just smiled and started drawing again. Now people were inviting Keith to draw in famous museums and exhibits and galleries all over the world. He was proud that he had become a successful artist. But wherever he went, Keith insisted he painted a mural so that everyone could enjoy his work, not just the people who had paid money to buy it. During a visit to Paris, France, Keith painted on the outside of a children's hospital, 6 stories high. Newspaper reporters came to take pictures and asked, "Why did you paint on the hospital? Do you think it will make the 6 kids feel better?" Keith didn't answer. He had to finish the painting. When the Statue of Liberty was 100 years old, Keith drew an outline of the famous statue on a huge piece of vinyl fabric, and then he asked 900 kids to help him finish the drawing. Keith told them, "Draw anything, whatever you want. No one can say it's bad or good. It's yours." When the giant painting was displayed, people were amazed to see what Keith and the kids had made. But the art critics couldn't understand why a famous artist was drawing with kids. But you know Keith, he just kept drawing. He painted all over the world. He would draw on anything, anytime, anywhere. Wherever he went and whatever he did, he would not stop. He just kept drawing. Now everyone wanted to know, and together they shouted, "Why? Why do you draw all the time? Why do you give your artwork away? Why do you draw on buildings, on people, on clothing, on furniture, on subway walls, on cars, on skateboards, on walls that belong to no one, and on things that will be thrown away? Why do you draw on everything?" Keith stopped drawing for a moment and answered, "I draw all the time because there's so many spaces to fill. I give my drawings away to help make the world a better place. I draw everywhere because everyone needs art." Then Keith turned back to the street, took out a piece of chocolate from his pocket, and just kept drawing. So I'm going to read to you guys from, this is actually Kay Haring is Keith Haring's sister. So I'm going to read a note from the artist, and then we'll finish for today. The author's note: "I wrote this story to answer the question I'm always asked. What was Keith like as a kid? The answer is, he was always drawing. When we were growing up, our dad was a great inspiration. We'd substitute time in front of the TV with drawings on the kitchen table. During church services or school concerts, Dad would doodle in the margins of the program and pass it on for us to add our own drawings. Mom would proudly display our artwork on the refrigerator. Keith's long love of creating art developed into an extraordinary commitment to making art accessible to all people. And he worked hard. Even after achieving great fame, he would often return to New York from an exhibit overseas and get to the subway as soon as possible to draw there, saying, 'The people riding the subway need to see art too.' Keith believed there is good in everyone, and I concentrate on that. He lived his life according to this principle and treated everyone, even from young children to famous celebrities to world leaders, in the same respectful, friendly manner. Keith's exhibition openings were testaments to this. In attendance was a fascinating array of celebrities, family with young children, graffiti artists, and people who had never set foot inside of a gallery before. Wealthy art collectors. It was always a diverse crowd, all brought together by his dynamic personality and vibrant artwork. What I most want people to remember about Keith is his deep communication to community and his unending generosity. There are some things magical about how the more he gave away, more doors would open for him. He used it as a springboard to reach even more people. Keith's energy and ideals live on in his work of art all over the world and are ripples of inspiration he started that echoed around the globe. His enduring legacy of capturing best in his well-known iconic Keith's Crawling Baby, better known as Radiant Baby. So the picture of a Radiant Baby is this one right here, Radiant Baby. And in this, you can also see when he was doing more drawings down, he's got Radiant Baby here's Radiant Baby right here. It radiates his love for children, celebration of life, and passion to spread art around the world. To honor my brother's spirit and pay tribute to the life devoted to celebrating the goodness of all human life, a portion of my proceeds from the sale of this book will be donated to an organization that benefits the youth of Berks County, Pennsylvania, our family home. The Youth Advisory Committee of Berks Community Foundation empowers high school students to address issues facing young people in their community by raising and distributing funds to meet those and find out. And here's Radiant Baby right there. Can you guys see that little baby, Radiant Baby? Okay. The Keith Haring Foundation. Established by Keith in 1989, the Keith Haring Foundation expands and sustains Haring artistic and philanthropic legacy through the preservation and circulation of his artwork by providing grants to underserved youth and those affected by AIDS. View his artwork and learn more at www.haring.com. HaringKids.com is the official Haring website for children, which features fun interactive activities to inspire a love of learning and art. It also offers online books and authorized art shows appropriate for children. Teachers will find more than 200 lesson plans inspired by Keith's legacy available here, with resources for enriching, explorative lessons for all ages and fields of study. And I will add that link in our PowerPoint. About Keith Haring is one of America's best known and loved artists of our age. He was born on May 4th, 1958, and he grew up in a small town of Cookstown, Pennsylvania. He was the eldest of Alan and Joan Haring's 4 children. His younger sisters were Kay, Karen, and Kristen, and the family's dog was named Moomba. He learned basic cartooning from his father and inspired the popular culture of the time, such as Dr. Seuss and Walt Disney. He was interested in art. He was always interested in art. After graduating from high school in 1976, Haring enrolled in the Ivy School of Professional Art in Pittsburgh. He soon realized he had little interest in becoming a commercial graphic artist and moved to New York City in 1978 to attend the School of Visual Arts, where he found a thriving alternative arts community developing on the streets outside in the traditional galleries and museum system. Haring started drawing in New York subways in 1980, and by 1985, has reproduced hundreds of those rapid, reoccurring line drawings, creating as many as 40 in a single day. By expressive and universal concepts of birth, death, love, and war, using these simple chalk lines, he created a universal, recognizable visual language. Beyond the subway, Haring was experimenting with various mediums like acrylic paints and sumite ink, and began using larger surfaces as found objects and canvases. He quickly saw that his audience was expanding from the streets to galleries to museums, and sometimes he could collaborate with children on public projects. He often painted in the presence of people so he could engage with immediate responses. Haring's work became popular all over the world. He produced whimsical, colorful art that understood and appreciated by everyone. There was a joy and freedom expressed in his work, and it attracts fans of all ages because of its relevant subject matter and straightforward line. His approach was start to draw at one end of a space and work across it, with no planned sketch. The lines flowing from his hand to the canvas was a continuous free-form creation. By 1996, he was commanding huge sums of money for his art. He was determined, however, to devote his career to making artwork available to a wide audience as possible. In April of that year, Haring opened the Pop Shop near the studio in Soho to sell t-shirts, toys, posters, pens, magnets, and many other items bearing reproductions of his images. The Pop Shop was a place where anyone could afford to buy one of his famous images. He was also devoted much of his time to producing art that contained messages about how he felt people should be respected, be treated with respect and equality. He produced more than 50 public works in dozens of cities around the world, most of which were created for charities, hospitals, and children. During his brief but intense career, Haring was featured in over 100 solo and group exhibitions. And in 1986 alone, he was the subject of more than 40 newspaper and magazine articles. He was highly sought after to participate in collaborative projects and worked along artists and performers as diverse as Madonna, Grace Jones, Bill T. Jones, William Burroughs, Yoko Ono, and Andy Warhol. In 1989, Haring established the Keith Haring Foundation to provide funds for AIDS organizations and underserved youth, to expand the audience for his work through exhibitions, publications, and licenses of his images. Keith Haring died of AIDS-related complications at the age of 31 on February 16, 1990. He used his imagery during the last years of his life to generate activism and awareness about AIDS. He had feverishly traveled the world and continued to draw up until the last few weeks before his death. The work of Keith Haring is still immediately recognizable and can be seen today in exhibitions and collections in major museums and millions of homes around the world. And here are some of his artworks that can be seen here. Art is for everyone. It's truth. You are an artist. Have a wonderful day.